Ancient legends tell of abandoned children reared in the wild by wolves, apes, or other beasts. In 1800, a naked boy was seen running wild in the forest of La Bassine, France. His background, unknown. Abandoned as an infant, he had somehow managed to survive. Could such a child be civilized? Rome, the busy center of modern Italy, still clings with pride to its heritage as the Eternal City. Even its name has a romantic origin. Legend tells us that Romulus and Remus, the founders of ancient Rome, were suckled by a wolf mother. Notions such as this do not begin and end in ancient Rome, but continue throughout history. Many people believe it is possible for human children to be raised by other animals. We observe the movements and interaction of the great apes and see mirror images of our own behavior. They seem so human that they give rise to fancies such as Tarzan of the Apes and Mowgli the Jungle Boy. Yet, even though apes appear humanoid, they can be ferocious killers, more likely to devour a Tarzan than to befriend him. Many biologists believe these animals would certainly not raise a helpless infant. How much truth is there to stories of wild children, and how close is the Hollywood image to reality? What happens if a child is raised completely devoid of human contact? In this century alone, there are at least 20 photographed cases of children who have lived with animals in their social structure. This is Issa, the monkey boy of Ceylon. Found in 1973, he was reportedly abandoned by his family. This little boy was found scrambling up a tree with a family of apes in the desolate grasslands of Burundi, Africa. In Syria, this boy was captured running with gazelles. His captors, riding in a jeep, claim they clocked his speed at 50 miles per hour. Why he was exiled, no one knows. Why have these particular children either been abandoned by their families or expelled from society? Many authenticated cases of wild children involve youngsters with some physical deformity. There are societies which see physical deformities as being proof of being possessed by evil spirits. These deformed youngsters then often are killed or, as we have seen, cast out. A plastic surgeon from Glasgow, Scotland, rescued the so-called Jungle Boy of Peru. The newspapers sensationalized the story of the child and Dr. Ian Jackson.
It's very difficult to find out what the true story was. We have been in Peru subsequent to him coming here, and we've tried very hard to find out how he eventually got to the Children's Hospital in Lima. As far as we can make out, he was suffering from some kind of illness which was slowly destroying the middle of his face. I presume he lived in the jungle. Again, we really don't know about this. He was taken to a mission hospital or a mission camp, and the missionary said that they couldn't do anything for him.
Dr. Jackson adopted the boy and brought him to Scotland, where with a program of surgery, he is gradually rebuilding the boy's face and helping the boy adapt to his new life. Shamdev, an Indian boy who growls, is believed to have been brought up by a pack of wolves. In India, there is a long tradition of wolf children. These photographs were taken in the 1920s by the Reverend Singh. He claimed that these two girls, Amala and Kamala, had been kept alive by wolves. However, the most famous wild child of all is the wild boy of Avaron. In the year 1800, the people of La Bassine, France, caught glimpses of a naked boy living wild in the forest. He looked about 10 years old, but nobody knew anything about his past. Where had he come from? Had he been abandoned? How had he managed to survive? Sometimes he would come close to the village to steal potatoes from the fields. He seemed as unaffected by the cold of winter as by the heat of summer. Captured, he was placed in the care of the National Institute for the Deaf and Dumb in Paris. For much of the time, the wild boy seemed totally apathetic, but occasionally there were strange outbursts of emotion. If the sun suddenly came out, he gave every impression of wanting to escape through the window. Parisians had expected him to be the epitome of their concept of the noble savage, much like our modern-day Tarzan. The reality was disillusioning. The authorities quickly classified him as a congenital idiot, and the public lost interest. There was one consultant at the Institute, Jean Itard, who believed that possibly the boy's apparent idiocy was only due to his lack of contact with other human beings. The methods which Dr. Itard was to develop over the next 6 years represented some of the world's earliest experiments in clinical psychology. To start with, Dr. Itard simply studied the boy's behavior and recorded his observations. The boy seemed unable to relate in any way to other human beings and tended to totally ignore their presence. All his moments of pleasure derived from an enjoyment of nature. Unlike people in society, vision was not his most important sense. He possessed an awareness of smells which would pass undetected by others. He appeared to make no distinction between pleasant smells and foul ones. Putting snuff up his nose produced no effect whatsoever. He was unable to recognize his own reflection. Nor could he differentiate between a picture and the real object. He appeared to be completely impervious to temperatures. He would put his hand in boiling water to grasp a potato without apparently feeling the scalding heat. He gave the impression of deafness. An unexpected loud noise produced no effect. But Itard found the slight sound of a walnut being cracked caused an instant reaction. So he concluded that the boy could hear perfectly, but his reactions were selective. Long months of patient care went by, and slowly a change began to take place. The boy became cleaner and tidier, learning to dress himself. For the first time in his life, he learned to play, and although he could not speak, he now had a motive for wanting to make himself understood. At this late stage in his life, he was beginning the childhood which the severity of his existence in the wild had denied him. He was discovering his imagination. How much further could he progress?